Hey, welcome back to another ballistics gel test. Today we are going to be shooting the 95 grain Federal Fusion in 243 Winchester. And here's the box for that Federal Fusion 243 load. We'll flip it around to the back, take a look. So here is your promo info for the Fusion bullet. You can stop, pause, and read all that if you would like. And then we've got our velocity and energy information over here. So it doesn't have a barrel length listed. I'm going to be open and say my 243 has a 20-inch barrel. So we're probably not going to be seeing these velocities listed on the boxes for any of the 243 loads that I'm testing. Just letting you know. Let's open this up and take a look at the ammo. So it's got your blue lacquer sealed primers that Federal does. I really like that. That's a nice touch. Good weatherproofing. Pull it out. There it is. Just a no frills hunting load. The brass is a little dingy, which is a little odd for Federal. Usually their brass is a bit cleaner than that. It is what it is. It ain't going to stop it from shooting. And my test rifle today is my Winchester Model 70 Featherweight Compact, chambered in 243 Winchester, of course. It's got a 20-inch barrel. Up top, I've got a Leupold FX2 6-power scope. And coming on back, I've got one of my handmade leather cartridge cuffs. I've got 243 stamped right in it. Check out my website, masonleather.com. It will be linked in the description and the pinned comment. I would absolutely love to make you one. And coming over the other side, I've got my whitetail deer design. We'll be taking 3 shots from 100 yards, firing into 10% ballistics gel that has been calibrated to meet the FBI's ballistics testing protocol. And while ballistics gel isn't an exact proxy for big game, it does provide a repeatable medium through which to test various bullets and ammo against each other. After the shots, we'll examine bullet expansion, weight retention, penetration, and velocity. My goal is to provide hunters like you and I with the most objective information possible to help us make the best choice for our particular hunting situation. The ballistics gel in this video has been sourced from Clear Ballistics. You can find a link in the description. So let's go ahead and shoot it. And we are down here at the blocks after shooting that Federal Fusion 95 grain out of the 243 Winchester, and this table is about done. Yeah. I think this one's done. Luckily, I have another one. But we managed to capture 3 bullets. Let's go ahead and take a look. So penetration-wise, it looks like we got, here's the first one. We're going to give that one 16 inches. There's this one right here. We're going to give 19 inches. And then this one is closer to 20 than 19, so we'll say 20 inches there. And keep in mind, we do now have a pretty good bow to the blocks because of the state of the table. So actual penetration might actually be a little bit further than what I just mentioned, but it's going to be close. So coming over to the first block, we have some terminal wind cavity here starting at about the 2-inch mark, going about back to the 9-inch mark. So on par with a whole lot of deer loads that we've tested so far. It's not the deepest penetrating load that we have tested, but it's also a 243. The bullets are lighter weight. They're not carrying quite as much momentum. Let's dig them out and take a look. And let's take a look at the velocities for that 95 grain Federal Fusion out of the 243. Ooh, we got a duplicate velocity. Our high was 2732. Our low was 2666. And our average was 2716. All right, y'all, what we're looking at here is another Federal Fusion load absolutely kicking butt and taking names. It's just incredible. So these are those 95 grain Fusions from the 243 recovered out of the ballistics gel. They look absolutely beautiful, perfect classic star expansion pattern that we've become familiar with Federal Fusion bullets. Let's go ahead and get into it. Weight retention wise, 95, 95, and 92 grains respectively, for an average of 94 grains retained weight. That is 99% weight retention out of a 243 no less. Absolutely incredible. And now on to expansion. 0.61, 0.62, and 0.62 inches respectively, so incredibly consistent, almost exactly the same for each bullet, down to the 100th of an inch. That is an average of 0.62 inches expanded diameter for 2.5x expansion, and that is not something you see every day with 243 Winchester loads. That is excellent expansion for such a small caliber holding together. And now on to velocity. We saw 2732 for the high, 2666 for the low, for an average of 2716 versus the factory build velocity of 2980. Now we did come in quite a bit slow on average versus factory build, 264 feet per second slow to be precise, And I've mentioned it in other 243 videos, and I'll keep mentioning it just so, so in case people didn't catch the other one so they know. The 243 Winchester is what's called an overbore cartridge. Basically a whole lot of gunpowder pushing a little bullet, and you do need as much barrel length as you can get to get all the velocity you can out of this cartridge. It is a very capable cartridge with a longer barrel. And keep in mind, the rifle I'm using is a compact model. It's a 20-inch barrel. So velocity-wise, I'm sure my particular rifle is hampering it a little bit. And the cartridge itself is capable of using any extra barrel length you have. So take that for what you will. But even so, even with the shorter barrel and the big powder charge for the little bullet, we're still seeing incredible expansion. So it worked out. And now on to penetration. We saw 16, 19, and 20 inches respectively for an average of 18 inches of penetration. That is about on par with some other 243 loads that I have tested. I'm really happy with it, especially considering that just wild expansion that we got. So you got a big expanded chunk of lead moving through, and it goes deep enough for pretty much any deer, any antelope, some, stuff like that you're going to be hunting. I wouldn't necessarily call this a big game load. I personally wouldn't hunt elk or something with this, but I think for your run-of-the-mill whitetail deer, your average size wild hog, stuff like that, 18 inches average of penetration will definitely get you what you need. All right, y'all, time for my final thoughts on that Federal Fusion 95 grain load out of the 243 Winchester. Y'all, Federal Fusion just keeps performing time after time after time, no matter the cartridge, no matter the caliber, it just doesn't matter. Federal Fusion, at least on paper, just dominates almost everything. We saw 99% weight retention, 2.5x expansion, and I want to harp on that for a second. The 243 Winchester isn't a particularly powerful cartridge, and a lot of the time, a lot of the loads I've tested, you don't see massive expansion out of it. It's a little bullet going really fast. What tends to happen is that bullet hits, it expands, and then it folds back. It doesn't have, retained expansion, we might call it. This stuff did. It had that classic star-shaped Federal Fusion expansion. It's going to create a big wound all the way through. And then velocity-wise, and this is the last thing I'm worried about, it did come in quite a bit slower than factory spec, 264 feet per second slow. I'm noticing that's sort of par for the course with the 243 Winchester out of a 20-inch barrel. Now keep in mind, I'm shooting this out of a compact rifle, a 20-inch barrel, but I think that's appropriate. A lot of people are using compact 243s. A lot of kids use it as their first hunting rifle. People get it for their kids, smaller statured people, so I think a 20-inch barrel test is actually pretty appropriate. And the 243 Winchester cartridge is one of those cartridges that can actually use every bit of barrel length you can get. It actually performs really good with 24 and even 26-inch barrels, but nobody's hunting with that hardly. And then penetration-wise, we saw 18 inches on average. That's about par for the course for a lot of good medium game hunting 243 loads that I have tested. A lot of those videos aren't out yet, but I have the data, I know the data, and that's sort of par for the course. I'm pretty happy with it. And then on to kinetic energy. This is a new segment I'm rolling into every one of my videos. With a 95 grain bullet going an average of 2,716 feet per second, we're looking at 1,556 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle. That's way above the 1,000 foot-pound threshold people like to see for medium game, and it's actually above the 1,500 foot-pound threshold people like to see for elk. Now, granted, at any distance past the muzzle, you're going to be below that 1,500 foot-pound threshold. And there's people that'll argue it. I don't consider the 243 Winchester an elk cartridge. People say they use it. Will it do the job? Hey, absolutely, if you make a good shot. Personally, for me, I want a little bit more room for error. Now, what would I personally use this load for? Well, let me tell you, this is going to be my hunting load this season, at least for the 243 Winchester. I'm going to try and hunt with several different cartridges, different calibers. But if I kill some with this particular load, I'll make a video about it and talk about what happened. But at least on paper, based on the metrics that we have, this looks like an absolutely excellent choice for medium game hunting from the 243. If you have used this particular load and been successful with it, let me and everybody else know in the comments how it did for you. I have some big news. Lots of you have emailed me or commented how much value you get out of my videos. And you've asked me, how can you be a part of this and help support the channel? Well, I got to work and now I have a way. I've created a Patreon account where you can join me in helping our fellow hunters. Click the link in this video's description and watch my Patreon welcome video, where I describe to you how your help will impact this channel and our community of hunters as a whole. And when you join me on Patreon, you'll get a lot more than I can give you here on YouTube. You'll have to go watch that welcome video linked in the description to find out the details. I'll see you there. Hey, if you enjoy these videos, check out my website masonleather.com and get yourself some leather gear handmade by me just for you. I've been handcrafting leather gear for hunters for over a decade and I would love to make you something. The link is in the video description. And check out my channel for more hunting ammo ballistics gel tests.